Welcome to Power Up Your Practice, the go-to podcast for law firm owners and managing attorneys working on the business, not in it. I'm Ruby Powers, your guide into the heart of law practice management, bringing you insights from leading legal minds, trailblazing attorneys, and expert guests who provide you with an actionable perspective on running your firm more effectively and efficiently. Prepare to open your mind, be inspired, and power up your practice to the next level. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Ruby Powers, your companion through the ever-evolving landscape of law practice management. I'm really excited about today's guest, Randy Sorrels. It's been hard to pin him down, but we found him, and he has a lot of accolades, and his resume is quite long. But right now, I have on LinkedIn bio, partner Sorrels Law, but there's so much more to him. Randy, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Okay, so I come from a military family background. So my dad was in the Army, and we moved around a lot. I came to Houston when he retired from the Army and went to high school here just the last 2 years, then went to a school now called Houston Christian University. With no lawyers in my family, I decided to be a political science and communications major. Thought law school was the route. Then went to South Texas College of Law here in Houston. I played soccer at HCU. It's called HCU now. It was HBU then. Went to South Texas because I liked their advocacy program. And from there, was involved in law review, was involved in advocacy, and went to work for a firm called Fulbright and Jaworski. And Fulbright and Jaworski is a big firm. They had a great litigation program. Worked there for 3 years doing defense work. Then after that, for the last 34 years, I've been doing plaintiff's work with 2 different firms. So now my wife and I started a firm coming up on 4 years ago. And we now have 25 lawyers with several partners, more women partners than men partners, in fact. So we've done a great job, I think, of trying to establish a diverse, hardworking, successful firm.
Wow, I remember, I felt like it was just the other day that you started your new firm. So, wow, that's great. And then every time you read the state Texas Bar Journal or some other publication, you see another one of your partners. Oh, that's great, that being added to the mix. So you've definitely been quite successful there. Well, I think the reason I met you is through your state bar involvement, maybe, or something along those lines. And I've just known you for being very involved in the community, really in the legal and the non-legal community, and even your support of South Texas College of Law here in Houston. What's your approach been to your involvement in the community, and how do you have time to do all that?
Yeah, so I was not someone active in student government, never ran for an election of anything growing up, whether it was in high school or college or even law school. But when I got out, there were 2 folks, one at Fulbright and Jaworski and one at my old firm. It was then called Abraham Watkins, Frank Abraham, and Jim Sales at Fulbright and Jaworski said, you really need to try to get involved in something. And they encouraged me to run for a position in an organized bar. So I was ultimately on the Houston Bar Association board. The Houston Bar is about 12,000 lawyers, volunteer organization. Became president of the Houston Bar Association. Also became board certified in 2 different areas. So always trying to practice the law part and then be involved in the organized bar. Then got on the board of directors for the State Bar of Texas. And ultimately was elected to be president of the State Bar of Texas. And we're a mandatory bar in Texas. So we have over 110,000 lawyers. It's an election process. And was president of the State Bar, all trying to keep the practice going and keep up with the family and be involved in the law school. That's one of my other passions. Again, with no lawyers in my family, I went to what I thought was the best advocacy school in the country. South Texas, had lots of choices, did well in undergrad. And it was a great choice for me, even though it's a regional school. A lot of emphasis on oral advocacy, got a chance to hone those skills. And right out of law school at Fulbright. I tried 19 cases in 3 years, which allowed me to become board certified at the 5-year level. Then doing plaintiff's work, I've tried dozens and dozens of cases and enjoy it most being in the courtroom.
I got board certified at the 5-year mark as well. I think that's something a lot of the lawyers, I think, don't understand. I don't know how many states, you might know, is it like 5 or 6 or something, have a board certification process. And Texas is one of them. And it's so, honestly, I think some people are like, why would I take another exam? Like, maybe a blood test, but never, nothing after a bar exam, right? But honestly, it was like, I enjoyed it because it was what I did and what I was passionate about and what I was interested, and then it made me a better lawyer. So I'm a strong supporter of the board certification process, and I'm glad that Texas has such a robust program.
Yeah, it does make you, for those of us who have this fear of failure of bar exams or board certification exams, it also makes you hunker down and look at the subtleties of the law in your particular practice area and try to pass the test. So luckily I passed both tests the first time around, and that felt good to get that pressure off of me.
How do you stay balanced with, well, no, let me go back. How do you, what made you decide which avenue? Because I was thinking about this in my, one of my chapters of my book about like how to get involved and when and where. And then like, once you start moving up the chain, it's like being more selective and like, where do you put your time? Especially like you're saying, a lot of us have family obligations or maybe the primary owner or partner. Like, how were you, what was your decision process for which activities to be involved in?
Well, I tell the lawyers, we have 25 lawyers here. Not everybody wants to be president of the state bar, and they don't even want to be involved in the bar association for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
What that means is everybody has a different area of life that they have passion about. And as long as your passion's not sitting at home and watching TV and, eating dinner or lunch alone, then, you find that passion and pursue it. For me, after the introduction into organized bar work, which is a lot of giving back to the community, but you also meet a lot of people. I enjoy meeting people and I learn a lot from people. And if you take that approach, there's something to learn from everybody. The more people you meet, the more you learn. And for me, that was my passion, meeting people, doing organized bar work, giving back. You could do pro bono, both with your time and you can give back financially. And we've been able to do that as well. But listen, that's not for everybody. It may be your PTO. It may be your local civic association. One of my partners at my old firm, I said, we both got involved in bar work. I did the organized bar and he went out to the bars and he did that in moderation, but he met people and hung out and, made lifelong friends there. Fortunately, he didn't spend too much time, but you got to find a place to get out and meet people.
So on that thought, how you seem to be like this really good networker. And I actually did a presentation on CLE recently on this topic. How do you stay organized with that? Or how do you stay purposeful and stay connected and genuine? What are some of your tricks to being a good genuine networker connector in the community?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Genuine is it. If you're going to be a fake, people will see you're a fake. Going to CLEs, you don't have to necessarily be genuine or not genuine. You have to go there to learn. But once you're there and you can share stories or share cases with folks, ideas, there's brainstorming about cases. If you're hanging out around with people who have similar interests as you do and talk about similar matters or cases, you just develop friendships. Our firm has grown this way because a lot of old friends said, hey, I see what you're doing there. I know who you are genuinely. You're not out to work us to death. And, we want to work hard and we want to do well for our clients and ourselves. And that's a good approach to take. And so being genuine helps from a leadership standpoint. You mentioned that if you get involved, these organizations, a lot of people join them to add to their resume, but a small group of people become substantive and involved and actually do things. I know you're one of them and you've seen it in your leadership roles. You're the ones putting in the time and the effort to prepare a PowerPoint for, you spend hours and hours to prepare for a 30-minute PowerPoint presentation. People see that in you as a doer, and then they want you to do more because you impress. And that's no different in the bar organizations as well. If you go in and genuinely do the work, they're going to want you to do something else.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I think that's a good point also, to choose a few things that you want to do well and be known for, and just genuinely feel good about it, and not like have a whole bunch of things that you can't keep up with, and you're always running behind, or you're not attentive, and you're not actively involved, because they start associating yourself with that. And it's hard, because sometimes we want to be everywhere, but we have to be selective with how we're involved. Now, I've enjoyed getting involved with the state bar. Right now, I'm the chair of the laws related to immigration and nationality committee. I think we need to shorten that, but it's been over years, and moving it up in the chain, and just now it's an honor to be a part of that. And I also enjoy our Houston Bar Association. I didn't realize we had that many members, but I think I do, because every time I read for like Constitution Day, we have to read that little bio blurb that says how many members and how old we are. It's like 100 something years or something.
Yeah. But voluntary bar organizations are still not completely in favor, and the HBA tries to be relevant to as many people as we can. I still have a heart for the HBA, but there's probably about 25,000 people in the Houston, Harris County area, and less than half are volunteer members of the HBA. So the HBA is constantly trying to come up with new ideas, come up with ways for people who aren't typically involved in the bar, like a lot of the corporate and transactional people, get them involved, because the Bar Association does have a lot to offer. You just have to sometimes take time to look for it. And for them, they have to try to reach out to those to know that the bar really is relevant to all lawyers.
Yeah, that's true. I'm involved in the law practice management section for the HBA, and I've met a lot of great attorneys through that and putting on programs. And we actually do a lot of programs over Zoom. So even people anywhere in the country, if they're interested in those programs, can still participate. Okay, so I have a question, and you can answer it however you want to, but like, why did you decide to start a new firm, into your career, the way, you could have just been like, yeah, I'm, not do that, like everybody knew who you were anyway. And you had a really good reputation and all that. But like, I'm just curious, because like for a lot of the listeners, maybe they're thinking I'm a partner somewhere, but maybe I should start out on my own, or make another firm. So like, what was part of your thought process, and what has it been like?
Yeah, it's a good idea. The thought process is all the different factors. So my wife is a lawyer. We've been married coming up on 8 years. She's a very accomplished lawyer, clerked at the Supreme Court of Texas, was at a big firm. We have a young family, and she was also not from a family of lawyers, and said, I want to be able to work some, but also want to enjoy my family. So she came on at my old firm, and we made the right decision, that spouses of partners probably shouldn't be partners. It looks like the nepotism would apply, and it might drive down morale. And her position was, that's great, but I didn't go to school, and she worked hard and was a top student to be an associate all my life. And she's very much partner material. And so that was one. Number two, I think people get stuck in a box, and they're afraid to get outside that comfort level. And I think, I was ready, like you said, well known. I'd been president of the bar. We'd established a statewide presence, or I had. And at that time, the firm I was at only had a Houston office. Well, they still only have a Houston office, which is fine. They do statewide work. But we now have a Houston office, a Dallas office, and an Austin office. So our footprint's a little bit bigger. We were able to come out and hire people who are already board certified, rather than growing them up from the bottom, which is obviously you have to do that. But we grow them up from the bottom, but we brought on a lot of laterals. And as mentioned, we have a lot more female partners. At my other firm, there were no female partners. Now we have, I think, 7 partners. and 4 of them are women. Actually, we have 9 partners, and 5 of them are women. I had to go through that. I knew we have an odd number. 9 partners, and 5 of them are women. And I believe in diversity for all the right reasons, which is a diversity of perspective that people bring from where they came from and where their families came from. And we allow everybody to brainstorm and come up with ideas. And for that reason, we've had tremendous success both in the courtroom and in people sending us cases, because we put customer service first as well. And that's one of the things that all of us here at the firm really pride ourselves in, is trying to be the best at returning phone calls. And a lot of lawyers don't do that. Returning emails as timely as we can, although that's a challenge. There's many that come in each day. Returning text messages. We're very available for clients. We give them our cell phone. And our business practice is personal injury and business litigation. So, we have CEOs texting us, and we have people who are unemployed, but we're in a horrific car crash that need help texting us. And we try to keep that broad focus for all of our clients to allow us to serve everybody equally and the best.
Well, that's great understanding. So I remember when we were talking, I guess maybe 4-ish years ago, 3-ish years ago, for some people, who've been at a big firm, whether it was their own partner and then starting a new, was it sort of like you had to sort of remember how to build from scratch? Because the firm you were at before existed before you joined, right? Before, I mean,
Yeah, that's it existed for a long time, but it was kind of, many people would say it was on the end of its life cycle when I became one of the partners, and another young partner and myself kind of rebuilt it, maybe rebranded it a little bit and brought it back up. And then that partner left, and we brought some younger partners on who do just fine running it now. But I ran it for 25 years. I knew what it was like to run a law firm. Obviously, all of us make mistakes when we're in management, and I had 25 years of mistakes that I didn't have to go through a second time. And you learn from that. And I'm a big believer in trying to learn something every hour of every day. You've seen me sit in on your presentations, because I think every lawyer who practices should do some law practice management, because there's tips that can be had to increase our efficiency and our effectiveness, our ability to get clients. And that's one of the unsung areas of the bar that, more people need to take advantage of.
No, I definitely agree. And actually, I'm on the ABA Tech Show board, and we were talking about like the history of CLE and how law practice management wasn't really respected or considered or something like that. And I was like, how is that possible? That's basically what gets lawyers in trouble with the bars. They don't know how to run their firms.
Well, it's a lot too. As you know, the numbers are pretty staggering. Everybody thinks the bar is made up of big firms, but the reality is the majority of the bar is 5 lawyers or less, which means a lot of solos, a lot of 1 or 2 person partnerships. And the bar has a lot of opportunity there. But again, maybe we don't get the word out the best we can for people who need resources and need direction. And the State Bar of Texas at least has that.
Yeah, no, definitely, because there is the law practice management committee, and there's a lot. There's usually a track at the annual meeting, and there's lots of other recording. Actually, speaking about information education, like what are some of the sources that are favorite books or podcasts or sources that have inspired you? I mean, so you're basically saying 29 years you've been practicing running a law firm in some capacity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously, from the running standpoint, you're always trying to stay on the curve or maybe ahead of the curve as to how technology can help us. And we do that some. When we started our firm, we really wanted to enhance our persuasion skills after coming out of being president of the state bar. I've spoke at a lot of different venues, some friendly and some not so friendly. It's kind of like juries. Some are friendly and some are not so friendly. And so as of late, maybe the last 5 or 6 years, I have personally listened to a lot of podcasts, a lot of webinars, attended a lot of CLEs on persuasion and trial advocacy, given a lot of CLEs. We had some luck. We had, right when we left and started our firm, we represented the son of a famous baseball player, a guy named Roger Clemens, in a very high profile case. It was 2021, and the trial was held on Zoom, which means that live streamed, which means that people could watch it. And when you get famous names like that, of Clemens in there, a lot of people watched that. We got a substantial verdict in a case against very qualified lawyers that was well attended by the viewership. We knew who was watching. And then about 9 months later, in a very catastrophic injury case of a man who was hurt on an airport tarmac, one of the best lawyers in the country was brought in to try the case against us with a substantial offer on the table. And the jury returned then the largest verdict in U.S. history for actual damages for a worker of $352 million. Also on Zoom. It was a 2-week trial, but a lot of people watched it, not because of me. I'm sure it's because this other lawyer is outstanding. His reputation is just impeccable, and he did a great job. And we had prepared. Sometimes when you get afraid going against a giant, you get ultra prepared. So we were extra prepared. It was Alex, my wife, and I that tried it. At one point they had 14 people in the courtroom against she and myself and a law clerk. And so it was also widely watched. And then when you get a verdict of that size, it hit the statewide news and the national news. And it was a very deserving verdict for a very, very, very injured person. And so we've gotten a bunch of verdicts since then, but it's on developing the ability to communicate with the everyday juror. They're not necessarily magic words or a secret sauce. It's just presenting things that people can understand. What the defense thinks is weaknesses, we're on the plaintiff side. We can turn around and show as strengths. And, as long as our client is genuinely hurt and has a story to tell and wasn't the sole cause of the incident, then they probably are, entitled to good representation and compensation.
Wow. Just something you mentioned about practicing with your wife. Like how is that? How does that work? Like, I know some people say like, I couldn't do that. I see them enough, or I don't know. You must have a lot of boundaries and ways to have space and make it work. But
she does a better job than me, not bringing work home, because we both work pretty much full time. We office next to each other, and there may be a whole day where we don't see each other in the office, even though we're both literally in the office. We try to go to lunch together and at least a couple of times a week, and maybe talk firm business or not. She has roles in the firm that she's in charge of. I have roles that I'm in charge of. We certainly run things by each other, but we have other partners too, and we get their input. It's worked great. I could not be happier. It's actually strengthened our relationship and our marriage. And every marriage has its challenges. I've just come to learn that. Every marriage has its challenges. It's how you take those on. And most of the time it's a communications issue. And we have continued, but have had really good success at communicating, more so over the last 5 years than the first 3 years in our dating relationship. So if there's ever a hiccup, it's almost always in communications, and we go back to the basics. Okay, what are we missing? Where someone's missing some part of the message here. Otherwise we'd be on the same page. And so it's been great, but I know not everybody can work with their spouse.
So I just feel like there's so much I want to ask you. I mean, just from like having run a law firm for nearly 30 years, I feel like sometimes there's things that stay the same and some things that are vastly changing. What are some of the trends that you've noticed, and what stays the same, and what have you noticed is like a shift?
Well, we talked about it, and I kind of mentioned it about emails. That's has evolved from what a great way to communicate to how do we unweight ourselves from the burden of emails. And, that's something that's evolved. I literally have someone that I've hired that reads through my emails and tells me every day you really need to read this one. It can't wait until the weekend. I mean, because I have an auto reply on my emails almost every day because I have depositions or something every day. And I know I won't be able to get to my emails. So I have my auto reply. It says, if this is really important, send it to this person here and she'll make sure I read it. And that's helped. But emails are one way that has really changed the practice. And the more people I talk to, the more people dread, the inbox and how it grows so rapidly. On the other hand, technology and depositions and Zoom has saved time. I just went to San Antonio a couple of days ago for depositions. It's a rarity to get on a plane now and waste a whole day to take depositions. And so we're seeing more and more Zoom, and that's been a positive thing. A lot of the courts allow you to participate by Zoom, and not all do, but I'm a proponent of most of the time. It's easier than driving to the courthouse or flying to another city to the courthouse for a 5 or 10 minute hearing. And that's been helpful. And I applaud those judges who do that, and those who don't. I know they have their reasons, but there's an argument to be made the other way, that maybe they should talk with the lawyers and in each case and see if Zoom is a better approach. I get it though. The lawyers that say there's nothing better than meeting face to face. It's a lot harder to say no face to face, and a lot harder to be unreasonable than it is over Zoom or a call. I understand that. So I think we're learning in that area too, but that's something that's here to stay, I hope.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And funny enough, I woke up early because I had a hearing this today, part 2 of a court case. And I was just like, I've got so many emails, I've got so much stuff. So I was like, I think I got up like 4:30. And then I was thinking to myself, what's the point of responding to all these people? They're all going to respond back to me when they wake up, no, but I do have, I have like 1.5 executive assistants that go through my email. And then I have multiple email accounts. So that's another fun thing. But no, I think that's a whole thing. Like, you're in meetings or court or whatever it may be during the day, but then it's as if you're supposed to be sitting in front of your inbox or something and like doing the work, and I think that's another really valid point. Like, it's easier than like typing up something and mailing, but at the same time, it's almost too easy for people to send you an email and maybe task you with work, and finding a way to challenge that. What's your like ideal day like? I mean, how do you balance running the firm? You got family, your volunteer involvement, big cases. Like, how do you sort of, or what are some of your ways of keeping yourself organized?
Well, when you hire, lawyer after lawyer, there's a reason why. It's because you have a lot of great clients, a lot of great work, and someone's got to do it. And I recognize my limitations are I can't do everything for everybody. And I get a lot of calls, and I'm very grateful. I hope people keep calling and keep sending business. But those calls have got to turn into a trusting relationship with my colleagues here at the law firm. And we need people to do their job and us all be committed to a common cause of high quality representation and that customer service I mentioned earlier. If I can do that, that allows me to network. It allows me to go to lunches with lawyers, attend CLEs at lunch or in the evening. It allows me to be sure to be able to coach my kids' soccer practices on certain nights, attend games on the weekends. It allows me to get ready for trials because I can pass off a deposition. We have very talented lawyers here, also board certified lawyers here. I need to pass a deposition. I know they're going to do a great job on that. And to try to have a balance. I don't need a lot of sleep. And if I said, where would you need more balance? Spend more time with the family would definitely be it. And we're working towards that. Our lawyers here, I want to have a balanced life also. I'm like you. I wake up at 4 every day, get a workout in. I'm done by 5:15. If I don't have to drive carpool, I'm in the office by 6. And my goal is to have lunch and with my wife, if possible, or somebody else. Be close to being caught up by emails towards the end of the day. If my kids have something, to be sure and make it to that and try to stay present for those. In other words, I can't be looking at my phone during the middle of their game. Then I've recently started a new practice. I get them to bed. I know I would be normally sitting in bed myself returning emails. So I get back on my exercise bike, and 30 minutes a night I spin. I'm not doing a ton, but I sweat by the end of the time, and I return a couple of hundred emails each night or delete them. in that 30-minute process. I get, 700 or 800 emails a day, much of which because, I started the firm and I'm on the court's website, so I can get through those quickly. And that's where it's at. And on the weekends, get up early and try to catch up. It's hard. It's hard sometimes.
Yeah, that sounds sort of like a typical day. I try to have more or less, except for the spinning part. But definitely I go for walking.
That's new for me. We'll see how long that lasts.
I think so. Full disclosure, we're Facebook friends. So I think you've been doing that quite a while, right?
Well, I've been on the bike a lot, but more recently this nighttime edition.
Oh, the nighttime edition. Yeah,
in the morning I actually work out.
Yeah, I think it helps us be better managers and clear-headed. And I really much need to work out every day, pretty much, to stay in a good place. Okay, well, I've got at least one more question before we start closing out. One of the things you said made me think about a common problem that law firm owners have is what are some of the ways that you sort of project the quality of the firm onto your partners and associates? Because like you said, that's a better place for you to go to the CLEs or networking, and you're still in the business. You're still running you're doing hearings, you're running a firm, but when you can't be everywhere and you have your partners. But sometimes people are like, no, I want you to do this, or I want you, or I want, what are some of the ways that you've been able to pass on the image, the quality to your partners, associates, and would you give practice tips to other partners and owners trying to do the same thing?
Well, all of us have our strengths. So if one client said, I really want you, Randy, to write this response to the motion for summary judgment, I would say, well, that's a mistake, because I have 2 board certified civil appellate lawyers here who are far superior writers for me. On the other hand, if you want me to take the deposition of a defense medical expert, I'm very good at those. And why don't we trade that off with a client where I play to my strengths, and we have people who are stronger that can do that here at the firm. And so recognize that we all have strengths for which we should be proud, but we all have weaknesses which can be turned into strengths by someone else working on it. And, I try to tell clients that on the front end. Where it gets hectic is in the spring and the fall with trial schedules. We have trial settings literally every week, sometimes 2. And clients do want me to try a lot of their cases. So it's getting ready. Once you've done it several dozen, 100 times, and I can do it in my sleep for part of it, but the other part requires rolling up your sleeves and reading the depositions and the evidence and getting that done right too. And so the springs and the falls can get busy, but it's fun for me. I got lucky, just like with bar work. I enjoy it, so it's not work. Well, this legal practice is not work for me either. So some people might get the enjoyment of going and playing golf or tennis. My enjoyment is coming to the office every day trying to get a great result for our clients. We have people here who have similar interest. They may not be as dedicated as I am. Some are more dedicated. I'll tell you that. I've got some incredible partners. But if it's not work and it's fun, it's a lot easier to get done.
That's great. And okay, one last one before I asked you about your favorite board game. You're a huge supporter of the clinics at South Texas College of Law. Whenever I forgot what floor that is 11th or I don't know, something. Your name's on it. I think about you every time I go speak at the immigration clinic. What made you want to be such a strong supporter of the clinical education at the law school?
Yeah, so I go back to where we start. No lawyers in my family. No idea that I should probably go to the University of Texas Law School, School of Law, not South Texas College of Law for networking. Didn't know that. I just said, who has the best advocacy? And so I went there. They welcomed me. They gave me a nice scholarship, which helped me get through. Remember, my dad was in the military. When he went into the private world, he certainly had success. But, that's after spending 25 years as a government employee. So I wanted to make sure that was done. So they were very good to me. They allowed me to be on law review, where I learned to be a better writer. They allowed me to be on the advocacy program, where I learned how to be a better oral advocate. And they got me my first job, frankly, at Fulbright and Jaworski, which I considered the best litigation firm in the country when I went out. And at that time, you made a whole lot of money, which is peanuts compared to what they make now. But it allowed me, they let me try cases. And the plaintiff side, of course, the harder you work and the luckier you are and the better clients you get, the more money you can make. And so there was a natural opportunity to give back to the law school. And the clinics, we have 23 different clinics in different areas, allow a whole lot of students to get practical experience in areas that they may or may not like. So it gives them exposure to something. And they don't have to do one, they can do 2 or 3. And that gets them a little bit of head start into the legal community. So my commitment there is to give students some real life exposure to areas to see if they like or don't like. And if they, do like immigration, great, but they may rule it out and want to do something else, family law, plaintiff's work, corporate work. And so it's my way of giving back to a school that gave me so much opportunity that I didn't know that was available, but they introduced me to it, like law review. Whoever would think of law review and why that would be important, how to study and get great grades. And that kind of propelled me onto the legal scene. I'm on the board of directors at the law school. I think the world of it. There's a lot of great law schools. I learned as president of the state bar, a lot of great law schools out there. But for me, South Texas was the right law school at the right time.
That's awesome. That's very inspirational, and another reminder that we should all give back to our community or law school in any way that we can and we're able to. And I'm a strong supporter of clinics. I know how valuable it is. I did it at U of H, the immigration clinic, and that was my first exposure to immigration court, and I'm still doing it, 16 years later. Or I was at law school, so more. No, that's awesome. Okay, so what is your favorite game or board game? And you can define game however you want to, I guess.
Like a sporting activity? Could I do that, or do you make it a game?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah. Well,
let's see here. Game. So I guess probably my favorite game to play myself would be Monopoly. I think it's a fun game to play. That said, you get into little kids games and back to the fun stuff that they really like. The Pretty Princess I was played in multiple times for those people who have little kids and know that one.
Yeah.
I'm competitive, as you said it. Athletically, I'm competitive against myself. That's really good. And with my kids' sports, that's my favorite game, is to whatever sport they're playing. But not a board game, but the most fun thing I do outside the practice of law. That's
awesome. I think that would take a lot of patience to coach a kids' sports team. I don't think I've done that before. But what do you think is your superpower, if you were to name it?
Yeah, superpower. That's a great question, because there's some people who are analytical and there's some people who are thinkers. Who whatever superhero that has the most endurance is where I'd be. I'm definitely not Flash, because I don't get places quickly, but I hang around for a long time, and I try to learn something from everybody and from everything. So I guess it might be Batman, because he was somewhat intellectual. Mm-hmm. He figured out the engineering side, figured out how to win against evil villains. That's what we do a lot in the plaintiff's world, is figure out how to win against evil villains who don't necessarily play by the rules.
In asylum law, I've come down to just explaining it to my clients. It's sort of funny how we're distilling it down to these things. I say, who are the bad guys and why are they after you? And then put together a case and what's the motive? And anyway, I've just done so much asylum this last week. That's where my head is at.
Wow.
But that's it's fun to sort of see those parallels in all over us, all over the world, and in our lives, and how we can better represent our clients. So, man, we've talked about a lot of things, from your bar leadership to running a law firm for nearly 30 years, 2 different law firms for nearly 30 years, practicing with your wife, building up a practice with multiple partners and attorneys, and finding that balance, giving back to the community. So I don't know what we're going to call this episode, because we covered a lot of territory. We don't have initially one overarching theme, but it's been great talking with you. What would you say is just any last piece of advice or closing thought?
Yeah, do what you love to do. It's going to be a whole lot better life for you. The fact that you went to law school doesn't mean you need to be a lawyer. The fact that you went to medical school and you got through it doesn't mean you need to be a doctor. Find something that you like to do, whether it's business or law, pro bono, helping people, or using your law degree in other areas, like in your community civics association or homeowners association or PTO. Find something you love to do and then do it. And that way life is much more enjoyable.
Those are great words of wisdom. How can people find you if they want to connect?
Yeah, so I told you I give my cell phone out, and no one's ever abused it in all these years. They can call me on my cell phone, and I'll give you my email address too. But that's the easiest thing, is call me or text me. I'm more responsive to text messages than emails, because no one else reads my text messages. It's 713-582-8005. That's my cell, 713-582-8005. Or my email is randy@sorrelslaw.com, RANDY @SORRELSLAW.com. But you're going to get an auto reply probably that says, if you need me quickly, text me or call me. So go back to option 1.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We learned a lot, and a lot to aspire to, a lot of wisdom. And thanks everyone for joining us today. And if you enjoyed this episode, definitely stay tuned, subscribe. You can connect with us on the Power Up Your Practice Facebook group in between episodes, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining. Feeling overwhelmed by admin tasks? You're not alone. Many immigration lawyers are in the same boat. That's where Staffy comes in. Over 90 law firm owners just like you have turned to Staffy for help with legal, administrative, marketing, and client-facing work. Now, Staffy's mission: to help lawyers find balance while growing their firm. With bilingual virtual staff and full HR support, they take the hassle out of a team management and focus on what matters most: your clients and your practice. I've personally benefited from Staffy's support with 7 virtual assistants of my own across various areas of 2 of my businesses, including my law firm. Now, schedule a free initial consultation with Staffy. That's stafi.cc, and use the code RUBY. That's RUBY for $500 off. Thank you for tuning in to the Power Up Your Practice Law Practice Management Podcast. I'm your host, Ruby Powers, and it's been a pleasure sharing this time with you. Join us next week for another episode where we'll continue to explore insightful strategies for success. Power Up Your Practice with us. See you next time.